celebrate my mother and my brother, so I'm definitely feeling blessed to be here. This poem is really just my story. For a long time, I felt like I had no testimony, and I'd been in the church for a long time. So it wasn't until God really broke me as an individual that I realized how much of a calling I had in my life, how great He was. So, consistency. Caught up in the imagery of who I was supposed to be. Fighting between what God said in John 16:33 and what the enemy had conceived in my mind of the way that it should be. Blinded, confused and abused, I was aiding and invading other people's minds because mine was retaining the lies and compromise of what the world told me was truth. You see, I was a church girl since youth, but as I got older, the curiosity started to wander, and my mother's no just wasn't enough anymore. One night when I was 16, I went trick-or-treating for the very first time in my entire life. I remember specifically, my mother told me, Jasmine, I don't want you out here late at night. As I shook my head, yes, as all us teenagers tend to do. Well, that night, my Ephesians 6 and 11 full armor of God had been slandered. Approached from the back with the gun and the mask saying, don't move or I'll shoot you. And I asked myself, what would you do? I had nothing. As He led us down into the woods, every step I took I felt was my last. Every breath I breathed, I was waiting for that blast for my life to be over. And as He began to rape us, no tears, no cries could fall from my eyes, only silent whispers with prayers saying, Lord, if you would take this cup from me, I will Colossians 3 and 5 as I put to death what is earthly in me. And Lord, you rescued me. But how I spat on your name, turned my blessings into a blasphemy, believed the world's acceptance to my pain. Instead of seeking you, I used your name in vain. Searching for love and acceptance, knowledge instead of repentance, I began to fall. See, my father died when I was 6. My brother was in jail, and the atrocity of seeing him behind a screen with literal chains around his arms and legs began to sink in. And the excuse of not having a father figure began to dawn on me a little more, until I began to drink. And a little more until I began to smoke. And a little more until I lost my God-willing purity to a man I thought I could keep with that security. I had become so wrapped up in the ways of the world that I truly thought that He had abandoned me. But as Proverbs 22 and 6 convicted me so that even in the midst of all of my sins, He always showed. The earnest desire to commit my fleshly conspires had me praying that, Lord, if you want me, you gotta move me. Because I had become so blind to see that I could no longer remove myself. He began to show me that He was more in love with me than any man could ever be. He began to remove the gross that was emasculating His house where He was to dwell when He kicked the enemy out, as His Deuteronomy 31 and 6 never left nor forsook me. Now I no longer find joy in this world. As I live in my reborn and rededicated life, I take the back seat and I go to Him and pray with everything that I ask. That my heart and my mind will stay beating with a yearning for His will, and although I am not perfect, I have been healed. 5 years later, the East Coast rapist has been caught, sentenced to 3 life sentences in 80 years. And as I pray with forgiveness in my heart, I know that the Lord is in control. Because in His John 15, verse 16, He reminded me that it was not I who chose Him, but He who chose me. And humbly I thank the Lord, for I have been redeemed.
That takes courage. Y'all give one another round of applause.